like I said before, people got sick and the stench was horrible. It was just unbelievable. I mean, that we even got out of there. But we did. And so we got to Hamburg about the 25th of February, 1945. And like I said, we were put into a prison, and Hamburg was bombarded terribly at that time. I mean, but nothing, no bomb ever fell on the prison. And now I don't know who told us, but it must have been while we were still in Hamburg. There were 7 buildings that constituted the prison, and they were built like a 7-star. And the Americans, the English, the Russians knew. What they knew was that it was a prison for political prisoners, and they wouldn't bomb it, of course. So, I mean, we never got into a bunker. They would have never taken us, but nothing ever happened either, as long as we were in this prison. And well, there was really nothing to do. We stamped little envelopes with names of spices that were supposed to be filled with spices later on. Well, it was boring. I mean, nothing to do, and you can't always talk or anything like that. So we used some of the paper and made crossword puzzles and wrote down poems. I still have these little pieces of paper where we wrote poems on and everything. And we were in Hamburg until the middle of April of 1945. And then they marched us from Hamburg to Kiel, K-I-E-L, which was on the Ostsee. And this, I think, was the worst. I don't know whether it was a concentration camp or whether it was just a camp, I think. It took us about 3 days, I think. We must have gotten there maybe around the 19th or 20th of April. No, even before that. I think we left the 12th and got there the 15th because we were there about 2 weeks. And
excuse me, you were where 2 weeks?
In Kiel.
In Kiel.
In Kiel, we were 2 weeks. Kiel had been almost completely destroyed. And they marched us into the city, let's say it that way. And we were supposed to get the whole bricks out of these ruins. That was the work we did. And outside the camp, there were we found red beets and turnips, and we just ate them raw. And to this day, I won't touch it. I just can't bring myself to even think of that. And there was no water, no soap. There were a lot of Russian women. I mean, those were all women, Russian women, and I don't know, Hungary. I don't know where they came from, but they weren't very clean.
Among the prisoners, you mean?
No, some of them were working for the SS. I mean, they were their girlfriends, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know.
Can you describe the march to us? How many? And
well,
what you remember seeing? Or?
I remember that there was a time we didn't want to walk anymore, and if it had, I mean, thank goodness, a lot of our friends had their mothers yet. And if it hadn't been for our mothers, I think a lot of us would have given up. But they kept telling us, you just got to walk. Well, our feet, I mean, so were theirs. Our feet were blistered and hurt, and we marched about 3.5 days. And they were, I mean, there were bomb raids while we were marching, so we just went into ditches. Somehow you had to cover yourself. And we slept in either outside or in farm buildings, on anything, straw, whatever there was, where they kept the horses or whatever. And I think by the middle, it must have been around the 15th of, no, that's, it was, we got there on the 15th of April.
Who accompanied you on the march? Cut.
Okay.
There's Connie Perez, Birmingham, Alabama, USA, English, and this is tape number 4.
You were telling us about the march and where you slept and what that was like.
Yeah, well, it was horrible. That's the only word I can use. And like I said, if it hadn't been for our mothers, a lot of us wouldn't be here today. And so when we finally got to Kiel, I think I said we worked, they sent us into the city to separate the whole bricks from whatever was left of the buildings. And that's where we found the red beets and the turnips. And like I said, we ate them raw just to have something to eat. And that was coming together with and sleeping in bunk beds. I think at that time there might have been 3 of us to a bed or something like that. And getting together with people that didn't keep themselves clean. We got lice. There was a little, you can't call it a sea, a little lake, not too far from the barracks where we stayed. Well, we didn't have any soap, we didn't have any water, nothing. So every once in a while we would ask the SS man, could we go into this little lake just to get clean? And they told us yes, they would watch us, but we couldn't have cared less. I mean, the idea of these lies was just unbelievable. And that's where we stayed for 2 weeks.
So you bathed in the lake?
In the lake, yeah. We didn't have soap, we just had water. But that was better than nothing. We didn't have any towels or anything. I don't know how we got there. Probably from the sun or whatever, or the wind or whatever.
When you say we, now who do you
All
mean?
the people that were working together, those that had gotten to Kiel. I mean, we didn't all at one time, but in groups.
How
got
did you,
into this little lake.
how did you do that?
Well, maybe there were 5, 6, 7 of us together, and we said, okay, we are going now. And once we got out, the next group went. I mean, there was nobody told us how many to go. They were just watching us so we wouldn't escape. And
How did they treat you?
horrible. I mean, this was SS. And we had a thin slice of bread and something they called soup. It was just hot water. And that's all we got to eat every day. It was, I mean, we weren't treated like human beings.
Do you remember any incidents?
No, I don't remember any incidents.
That
no,
happened?
Not that I mean, there is nothing that I remember while we were there. What I do remember is on the 30th of April, we were told, I mean, we were given regular dresses, and we were told to take off our prison clothes. And then the next morning, on May 1st, we were ordered to stand in rows. And they told us we were going to be free. But we didn't believe anything. I mean, we just didn't, that's all I can say. And all of a sudden we saw big white trucks, closed trucks, with the Red Cross emblem. And the drivers, and there were also ambulances. My mother was very, very sick, and I think if we had been in Kiel maybe another week, I don't think we would have had a mother. So those drivers told us to get into the trucks, that we were free. They were going to take us to Denmark. And they wanted my mother to go into one of the ambulances, but we wouldn't let her. She just stayed with us. And sure enough, that was the day we were liberated. And once we got across the German border into Denmark, they sent us into showers. And so we were clean again.
So you went across in the trucks?
In the trucks,
and,
yes,
and
but these were Danish. I mean, those were Danish Red Cross drivers or anything. They knew what was happening. And they told us, you know, we were, I mean, the Germans had told us the night before we were going to be free, but who would ever believe a German?
What did your driver tell you?
The driver told us, get into the trucks. We are from the Danish Red Cross. You are free. So we finally did. I guess maybe we believed them, or maybe we thought it was one way out. I don't know anymore. All I remember is once we crossed the German border and were in Denmark, they stopped and they took us wherever this was. I don't know. But anyhow, we could take showers and got cleaned, got rid of the lice, and which meant an awful lot to us. And they must have given us some kind of clothes. I don't remember anymore. And after we crossed the Danish border, after this shower and everything, we were put into trains and then we were told that Count Bernadotte of Sweden had paid so and so much money to Hitler, to Himmler, to free Jews. And, but we were also told not to say that we originally came out of Germany, because no German Jews were supposed to be liberated. I mean, he was only supposed to get Polish Jews, or wherever they had come from, you know, Eastern European Jews, that's a better word for it. And while we were on the train, we were given the care packages and told to be very careful what we would eat and to take it very slow. And most of us did, but some of us didn't, and they got very, very sick because our stomachs weren't used to anything. And this was actually real food.
Do you remember what you were feeling at this time?
I don't think we realized. I really and truly, I mean, we had lived for 3.5 years under SS, and I don't really think we realized what it would mean to be free, to trying to live a normal life again. It took us a long time to get used to that, really and truly. And once we got to the top of Denmark, we were transferred to a boat to get to Sweden. We had to cross whatever this was, Skyrack, or I don't know my geography that well.
So you first were in trucks, and you said then you were put on a train?
Yes, in Denmark. We were put in, I mean, they had the same passenger cars like they used to have in Germany. And we were put on a train, and it took almost all day to get to the tip of Denmark. And that's when we got into a boat to get across to Sweden.
Do you remember the name of the place?
In Sweden?
In Denmark,
no,
where you left?
No, I don't.
From?
That I don't remember. I remember we got to Malmö in Sweden. That was right at the tip of Sweden. And this was May 2nd. And there were some Jewish people that had put up a tent, and they came to us and brought us hot chocolate. And it was lakbarm. And to this day, it's a special day for me. I mean, that's a day none of us will ever forget. And it's like a second birthday. And we were, at that time in Malmö, they had converted a school into a hospital. And they took us there. And when we opened the door, there were the beds with white sheets. I mean, it was unbelievable. Yeah. And we were under doctor's care. They prepared meals for us, so we would slowly but surely get used to normal food. And while we were, I guess we were in Malmö maybe 10 days or so. But while we were there was VE Day. And we heard the church bells ring and the people in the streets celebrating and everything. But I don't think it sank in for us because we were free. You know, that's what it was. And like I say, we stayed in Malmö about 10 days, I guess. And then we were taken to Smålandstenen. Now, I hope I can spell it right. Smålandstaen, which was where they kept us in to see that we didn't have any infectious disease, in quarantine. To see that we didn't have any infectious disease. I mean, there were doctors and nurses all around us. It was really wonderful what the Swedes did, really and truly. And we might have stayed there until about 1st of July. And well, while we were still in Malmö,